My lawn is just like my YouTube channel. It's an amazing thing. You know, I've had this lawn a lot longer than I've had the YouTube channel, of course, but I've never been able to properly grow a lawn here. You know, it's where I live is a sandy base, and there's also a big, huge tree here, and it casts off a lot of shade. And you know, over the years, I've laid down sod and I've reseeded, and I'll get little bits of grass here and there. And then, you know, the rain comes and it washes it all away. And then this big giant tree, of course, shadows everything. And it's really hard to grow grass. And, you know, I'm not the only one that has this problem. And so I keep trying. And then I take some pine straw like I did here, and I put a little border around it because that takes at least some of the barren, you know, look away. And then these little patches of grass here, I try to water them and try to, you know, make them grow a little bit. And I added a little rock there because there's a kind of a tough turn to come in there. And if you got a couple of cars in the driveway, it's kind of hard to get in. So that took up more space. And then I added these pots here, and I put flowers in there every year. And then this year I added some of these sago plants, and they're from another part of the property. I'm kind of a minimalist at heart, so I tried to move those over here and replant them. And you know, I don't know if they're going to grow. I hope they do, but I'm certainly trying. And you know, here's another, I don't even know what this plant is, but it seems to be growing. Then I added more flowers over here, and then, you know, I have the solar lights there. The solar lights are really cool because rather than going through all the expense of putting in landscape lighting, I just added these solar lights, and they give it a beautiful glow at night. And but I keep going. You know, there's a plant over there. I replanted that. It was kind of dying at the back of the house, and I moved it up to the front. I don't know if it's going to grow. I replanted all of these plants in the ground, and I put some really good, you know, organic potting soil in there. And, you know, then I have a row of a little sort of a hedge thing I'm going to try to grow up at the front of the yard there. And these have been here a long time, and they've done really well because that was the area where I was just going to have, you know, some greenery, some plants, some flowers, and everything in front of that was supposed to be a lawn. But that didn't happen. So now I'm just trying to bring it all together and just make it look like I'm trying to do something and make it better, you know, every single day. And, you know, every year I'm sure I'll add more and more. You know, I added this free weeds. Anybody want free weeds? I added that little sign. I thought that was pretty cool. And then I added these solar lights just the other day. These are really cool. They change colors at night. And can you tell we like cats? We love cats. We have cats and dogs, and we love animals. Animals are really cool, and they're friends and they're buddies. And you know, I got some backup flowers here I still have to plant. But, you know, it's a constant process, just trying to make this thing grow and trying to get it right. And you know, every time I tweak something, it definitely gets a little better. Now, I don't think that my front yard is ever going to be on the cover of some, you know, gardening magazine or on some, you know, TV show that's about fabulous gardens or whatever. But you know what? It's my garden, and I like it, and I'm going to keep working on it. And it's not unlike my YouTube channel. You know, my YouTube channel, I started that a couple of years ago, and yeah, it's not doing great, but I don't care about it doing great. You know, I'm just happy to be doing it. And just like the garden, it's kind of a goal now, not to make it perfect, but just to kind of keep it going. And boy, if I can grow some more grass here, I'll be really happy. And in my YouTube channel, if I can get a couple of more subscribers, that's going to make me feel really good. So they really are connected, you know. Life, just like your YouTube channel, is the same. we're constantly striving to make things better. And, so when I started watering today, I thought about this, and I thought about the fact that I'm just going to keep going. And you need to keep going also, whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're striving to get better at, or striving to do, maybe add to something, or make something prettier or nicer, or, more productive. Just keep going. I think it's very, very important that we all keep going and keep trying, and, keep adding. And over time, they say, anyway, I'm sure they're right. Over time, things do have a tendency to get better. So whatever you do, I don't believe you should give up. I know I'm not giving up. And so the moral of the story is, my YouTube channel is just like a garden. There's no difference. And I'm not going to give up on either one. I know I'm not doing everything right, but I watched a video recently, and a guy said he had I don't know, 100,000 subscribers or something. And he, I didn't think he was anything special, but that's not meant to sound like I'm insulting the guy. What I'm saying is, you never know what's going to hit, and you never know what's going to miss. You just have to keep trying. Consistency is the key to everything. And he said in one of his videos, he said, I had one video that I looked back from I guess a year ago, and he said, I remember at the time I made that video, and I watched it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I only had 12 views. And then when I went back and I looked at it, I realized I had 100 views. So he basically talked about YouTube, which is very true. It's kind of like planting a garden. There's times that things will grow perfectly, and there's times that they won't. And then you will have different issues like weather and drought and all these different things that affect you. In my case, I have a big tree, so there's a lot of shade. So I have to kind of constantly dance around that. But I'm not giving up on either one. And the main reason I wouldn't give up on YouTube to begin with anyway is, and I know this is going to sound weird, but I want to put out the best YouTube videos that I can. But at the end of the day, I don't care. I really don't care if you like this video. I do. It would be nice. But at the end of the day, I don't care, because it's like they used to say about writers, I'm writing for the waste paper basket. So it's not about being popular or having the most likes, or, having the best subscribers or the most kind comments. It's certainly not about the money. I most definitely didn't start this for, to develop it into some kind of business. It's not. Frankly, it never will be that. If I had 100,000 subscribers today, I kind of wouldn't care about what the volume was financially to that, because if I get to 100,000 subscribers, you know what I'm going to want? I'm going to want 100,001. So that's what it's all about. It's all about trying to grow something, and trying to work on something, and trying to get better at something. It's funny. People say, it's like, somebody might say, well, I don't want to be a writer. All the great books have already been written. Well, that's kind of stupid, right? Why would you take that approach? You'll hear people say they might be in a specific business. I'm in the restaurant business. I sometimes get burned out, and I'm like, oh, I'm sick of this. I would never want to open a restaurant. That's not true. That's not true. If the right idea came along, or if there was something that I even thought was a good idea that I would try, I would go ahead and do it. And it might fail. In fact, most of my failures have taught me, and I've had a lot of failures. I lost $1 million at one time in a business deal. And yeah, it sucked. It was horrible. I thought it was the worst day of my life, but it turned out to be the best day of my life, because number one, there were a couple of business relationships that made it through that I had, that I'm very proud of today. We still have that relationship, and we have done great things since then. And good people came into my life at that time. So There's no such thing as failure. I mean, failure is like, it's like going to college, right? You'll fail certain subjects, but you'll really excel in others. And typically, when you fail at one subject, then maybe you come revisit it again. It's like a business. You may start, 2 or 3 businesses, and they might all fail, but eventually you will find one that'll work. The only time you won't find success is if you stop. So you can never stop. You have to keep going. You have to keep going with your YouTube channel. You have to keep going with your garden. You have to keep going with whatever it is. But keep doing it, and don't worry about what other people. I don't care. When I first started this channel, I was terrified. First of all, I was terrified that my friends would see it. Now I could care less. And frankly, none of my friends, I've been doing this for well over a year, 2 years almost. None of my friends have seen this. Nobody has come to me and said, "You have a YouTube channel. What are you, an idiot?" I don't care. I wouldn't care. In fact, chances are, if somebody came to me today and said, "Oh man, your YouTube channel sucks," you know what my response would be? Well, I know it does. And yours is really, really good. I am so impressed with your channel that I just wish that I could be as good as you. Now, will you help show me how you did your channel? And then typically they'll be like, "Well, I don't have a YouTube channel." Oh, really? So, don't worry about what other people think. Keep doing your YouTube channel, keep pushing forward, and keep writing for the waste paper basket. Because eventually there will be one that's going to do really, really well. Do you care if it gets 100,000 likes or 1,000,000 likes? Do you care if you make $5 on it or $1,000,000 or $1? I don't, and I don't think you should either. Thank you for watching.